All right, all right. Hello, everyone. Hello, everyone. I'm Teacher Niv. This is Dr. Joe's reading and writing class. Today is October 9th, 2025. If you can hear me clearly, can I get a 79.3 in the chat? A 79.3 in the chat. 71.3. That is concerning. 79 point 676. Oh, 6 7. I know what this is. This is that meme that's trending with all the young people. Is that it? Was I correct, Ethan? Okay, nice. Um, okay, great. Let's get started. Um, okay, turtles all the way down. Has anyone read this, by the way, by any chance? No. Okay. Can I get Melinda? Melinda, can you read this?
John Green, the acclaimed author of Looking for Alaska and The Fault in Our Stars, returns with the story of shattering, unflinching clarity in this brilliant novel of love, resilience, and the power of lifelong friendship. Uzzah Holmes never intended to pursue the disappearance of fugitive billionaire Bristol Pickett. But there's $100,000 reward at stake, and her best and most fearless friend, Daisy, is eager to investigate. So together they navigate the short distance and broad divides that separate them from Pickett's son, Davis. She is trying to be a good daughter, a good friend, a good student, and maybe even a good detective, while also living within the tightening spiral of her own thoughts.
Oh, I was muted. Awesome. Thanks for reading that, Melinda. Yeah, this book has also been turned into a movie, I believe. Has anyone ever read a book by John Green? No? Okay, I guess fair enough. I guess it's a little bit his books are geared for people a little bit no about your age. No. Can I get a volunteer reader? Nobody. Annabelle, can you read this one?
John Green's first novel, Looking for Alaska, won the 2006 Michael L. Prince Award presented by the American Library Association. His next novel, An Abundance of Catharines, was a 2007 Michael L. Prince Award honor book and a finalist for the Los Angeles Times Book Prize. His next novel, Paper Towns, is a New York Times bestseller and won the Edgar Allan Poe Award for Best YA Mystery. In January 2012, his most recent novel, The Fault in Our Stars, was met with wide critical acclaim, unprecedented in Green's career. The praise included rave reviews in Time magazine and the New York Times, on NPR, and from award-winning author Marcus Zuzak. The book also topped the New York Times children's paperback bestseller list for several weeks. Green has also co-authored a book with David Levithan called Will Grayson. Will Grayson published in 2010. The film rights for all his books, with the exception of Will Grayson, have been optioned to major Hollywood studios. In 2007, John and his brother Hank were the hosts of a popular internet blog, Brotherhood 2.0, where they discussed their lives, books, and current events every day for a year except for weekends and holidays. They still keep a video blog, now called the Vlog Brothers, which can be found on the Nerdfire's website or a direct link here.
Yeah, I just took out the link. But yeah, so does anyone know who Hank Green is? What? No one knows who Hank Green is? Hank, come on, guys. This guy? No? Okay. I guess I'm I guess wow. Anyways, famous YouTuber. They're both brothers. They both did the vlog brothers. He ended up writing The Fault in Our Stars. Does everyone know what that is? The Fault in Our Stars? Oh my gosh. Maybe I am old. Okay. 2012. Boomer stuff. Oh my gosh, 2012 is not boomer stuff. Come on, guys. But yeah, okay, Fault in Our Stars. Uh, very famous book, very famous movie. He ended up writing a bunch of more books, and he's very yeah, he's very popular. His books are pretty successful, mostly in the sort of romance, coming of age stuff. Okay. Anyways, here's a quote. The only way out of the labyrinth of suffering is to forgive. So, I want you to analyze this quote. You have to, when analyzing this, you should have a point explaining what labyrinth of suffering is, maybe why it's called that, and then the rest sort of being, do you agree with the quote? What does it mean, etc. Okay, so there's only 5 students today. That's so I'm gonna keep it to 5 minutes. Um, yeah, okay, I'm gonna start the timer now. All right. Time is up. Let's see what we came up with. All I see here is a message from Russell saying that is when dinosaurs lived. All right. Ethan, start us off.
This quote by John Green, the only way to get out of the labyrinth of suffering is to forgive. I think this means that the only way not to feel constant pain is to forgive what has happened in the past so you stop holding the pain.
Forgive what has happened in the past. Okay, I like this. So firstly, I like the general structure, but my issue here is this sentence is not a complete sentence. This quote by John Green, what's the sort of point of the sentence? There is no point. You start with this quote. You could say this is a quote by John Green, or John Green said blah blah blah. But if you say this quote by John Green, and then you end the sentence, there's no complete thought. So it's not a complete sentence. So that's one thing. What you could do is this quote by John Green, take this part out, means that, so I'm gonna actually just do that for you, means that the only way not to feel constant pain is forgive what has happened in the past so you stop holding pain. I like this. I really like this a lot. My only issue here next is forgive who? And that's an interesting thing to discuss too. You could even then delve into like, who are we forgiving? Who is it difficult to forgive? Are we talking about, our loved ones, our parents? Are we talking about ourselves? So there's a lot, who causes the most suffering? There's a lot that you can unpack here, right? And you could even leave it empty-handed, like forgive people, others, etc. You could say all those things, but you need to sort of say something. You can't, I don't think it's clear enough to just say forgive. So I would say leave that. But I like structure, and I think you're on the sort of, I don't want to say right path because you can interpret this anyway, but I would say a right path to explaining what you mean. Okay, Russell, would you like to read yours?
I believe that the quote conveys that the pain and confusion we experience in life, our labyrinth, can only end when we let go of anger, bitterness, or guilt. Holding on to these emotions only prolongs the suffering. The way to let go is to forgive. And when we do, why is that capitalized? We free ourselves from the labyrinth of suffering. One example is if your friend betrays you and you hold on to that grudge forever, the only one suffering from that is you. Your friend might not even know or care.
Awesome. I like this. So, I like the use of the quote or sections of the quote directly in the response. It's always a good strategy. You can use that that's a very good strategy to use in your like essays and things like that in your classrooms. So keep that in mind. Usually helps tie your thoughts together and usually just gives a sense, like if you're reviewing like a book review or something like that, or you're writing an essay on a book, you're using quotes within your sentences and things like that. It just conveys that you know the 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 writing, the book very well, let's say. And in this case, it just helps us really stick to the quote and connect your response back to the quote. And it also, in this case, you're also explaining what the labyrinth means, so it's awesome. Anger, bitterness, or guilt, great. Holding these emotions, prolonged suffering, we let go, great. So you actually don't need to use it twice here. You can choose one or the other. They're both really good. You don't have to use it twice. It's not necessarily incorrect. All right, one. example. Your friend might not even know her. Okay. Great. Fair enough. Okay. Austin, would you like to read yours? Thanks for that, Russell. It's really good.
This quote by John Green means that the best way to get out of sadness and pain is by helping others. When you give kindness, support, and love, it helps heals your own heart too.
Interesting. So you sort of took it another step further and said, not only do you forgive, you then give to others. It helps heal your own heart too. Okay, so I do like this. Get out of sadness. I like how you say get out of sadness instead of get rid of sadness. It's like sort of sadness is a state of being. Um, that's interesting. Interesting choice there. But now the only problem is I need to sort of understand why. It helps heal your own heart too. There needs to be more to sort of bridge that gap. How does it help your own heart? Why does it help your own heart, etc., right? There needs to be more there, but I think it is a very interesting analysis though. Okay, Annabelle, would you like to read yours?
John Green's quote, "The only way out of the labyrinths of suffering is to forgive," suggests that emotional pain can trap people in a cycle of resentment towards others. The labyrinths in this quote symbolizes the complex and overwhelming feeling that comes with suffering, like there isn't any clear path forward. By saying forgiveness is the only way out, John Green emphasizes the power of letting go of the past so you are able to let your hurt out.
Okay. It's just an emotional pain control, cycle of resentment towards each other, towards others. The labyrinth in this quote symbolizes the complex and overwhelming when it comes to suffering, like there isn't any path forward. There isn't any clear path forward. Forwards? Not too sure if forwards make sense here. Is there any clear path forwards? I guess it's fine. By saying forgiveness is the only way out. John re-emphasizes the power of letting go of the past so you're able to let your hurt out. Interesting. I know I really like the structure using the whole quote. You don't have to do that just because for the sake of the class, like I only give you guys 5 minutes to write, so I don't ask that you write the whole quote, but it does help your response if you do, I guess. Great explanation. Great. I really like this. There isn't any clear path forwards. And then yeah, really good job, Annabelle. Nice. Okay, let's take a look at Melinda's. Melinda, you don't have to private message me. You can just public message me because it all goes in the on screen anyways. Melinda, would you like to read yours?
The only way out of labyrinth of suffering is to forgive means to stop feeling pain is to forgive the person who hurt you. I agree with this because forgiving helps you feel like a good person and makes peace with the person who hurt you. For example, if your friend hurts you by lying, you forgive them even though you're not friends with them anymore.
For example, if your friend hurts you by lying, you forgive them even though you are not friends with them anymore. Helps you feel like a good person. So I do like this, and I just think that there is a little bit of a gap that we could bridge. Like it makes you feel like a good person, makes peace with a person who hurt you. I think we could take that a step further. Like, why does it make someone feel like a good person. And I think that's where the interesting responses, can come from. I think there's a bit more here that we could investigate. Means to stop feeling pain is to forgive the person. I do like the overall analysis right here. I think that's great. I think that's perfect in my opinion. I agree with this because forgiving helps you. Although I will say that I have had professors who say do never start a sentence with a quote because it throws off the reader. Now, you can interpret that any way you want, but especially if it's the start of like an essay or something like that, you shouldn't do that. And this case is a little bit different. You're answering a question. It's a little bit different, but just letting you guys know, in your like essays and things like that, try not to start sentences with quotes. Or you can like do like a semicolon and then quotes or colon and then quotes, things like that. But avoid starting sentences, especially paragraphs with quotes. Keep that in mind. I agree with this because forgiving helps you feel like a person and makes peace. Okay, so this next thing. I agree with because forgiving helps you feel like a good person. Forgiving makes peace with the person who hurt you. You should feel like a good person. So I think it's better to just change this. Take this out. It's just a little awkward, in my opinion. So helps you feel like a good person. As you make peace with the person who hurt you. So these are two separate things. I guess making peace and forgiving, you're treating it like two different things, and it makes you feel like a good person as you do it. Great. Yeah, I think I like this. Why would that sort of make you feel like a good person? And I think the main idea of the quote is sort of that why is like why is forgiving so good? Is it to make peace? But is there also, getting rid of your own suffering? Is suffering caused by just that resentment, etc.? Okay, let's keep going. Vocab of the day. Let's get any volunteers. Russell.
Avarice, noun, extreme greed for wealth or material gain. His avarice drove him to betray even his closest friends for a handful of coins. Nebulous, adjective, unclear, vague, or ill-defined. His explanation was so nebulous that no one could follow his point. Trepidation, noun, a feeling of fear or agitation about something that may happen. With a sense of trepidation, he opened the envelope that contained his exam results. Equanimity. Equanimity. Noun, calmness and composure, especially in a difficult situation. He handled the unexpected news with remarkable equanimity. Vacillate. Vacillate. Verb, to waver between different opinions or actions. Be indecisive. He continued to vacillate between choosing a career in law or medicine.
Awesome. You guys know the drill. Write one paragraph, or if you want to challenge yourself, one full complete sentence with all the words. 3 minutes. Starting the timer now. All right, all right. Time is up. Let's see what we came up with. Their quotes. Russell's response. All right, Russell. Keep us going.
Bob had a huge avarice that even made George, who normally handled situations with equanimity, to follow into trepidation and vacillate about the nebulous decision of whether to continue the friendship or not.
Awesome. Okay, so he had
I think the E from my George teleported to had.
nice. They even made George normally had a situation of equanimity. George. I think we could just do commas, then take out the two fall. So even made George fall into trepidation and vacillate about the nebulous decision of whether to continue the friendship or not. Nice. Okay, so Bob had a huge avarice. I would say in this case, avarice shouldn't be used like that. It's like
Had an extreme greed.
had an extreme. It would be
Or he has. He has.
he has a huge avarice.
Yeah.
Yes. Or he has a huge or his avarice. Like Bob's avarice was so extreme that even so okay, we'll leave it at has. Bob has a huge avarice. Ha, uh, okay, we'll leave it like this. I'm gonna look into this one. I'm actually not, or I'll just leave it here for now. I'm not 100% sure about this one. Okay. But besides that, great stuff. Ethan, can you keep us going?
George took the offer without showing any sense of trepidation and staying equanimity. Even when the instructions were nebulous, he still did it for the avarice. Avarice? I think that's how you say it.
Oh, avarice, avarice.
Avarice. Avarice.
Nice. Um. Okay. Awesome. Even as he still did it for the avarice. He still did it. What was that noise? He still did it for the avarice. Now I'm lost. Okay, so I can confirm. I just double checked. This sentence is correct. He has a huge avarice is fine. He still did it for the avarice. Now I'm not too sure. I'm going to say no, he still did it because of his avarice, his greed. Okay, nice. Who's next? Looks like Melinda's next. Oh, we have another person using Bob. Might be a war zone here. Melinda, would you like to read yours?
Dom's avarice made his focus only on money, even if it hurts others. His ideas were nebulous, so no one really knew what he wanted. People felt trepidation working with him because they didn't know what he will do next. Although he acted with equanimity, he would constantly vacillate, changing his mind from one plan to another.
Made his focus only on money. His focus, even if it hurt others. Made his focus So this is a little bit of awkward phrasing. I would say Dom's avarice made him focus only on money, or made money his only focus. Made his focus only on money is a little awkward. So I'm just gonna highlight that. You could say money his only focus, his made him focus on only on money, etc. Just focus only on money. You guys are getting me with maybe I'm losing my mind, but some of these phrasing I'm like, huh, I guess I've never really read that way, and I don't want to tell you guys it's wrong if it's not, but what I can tell you for sure is it's definitely awkward. His ideas were nebulous, so no one really knew what he wanted. The felt trepidation work for them, didn't know what next. Although he acted with equanimity, he would constantly vacillate, changing his mind. Nice. This is great. Great sentence here. Good stuff, Melinda. Okay, Annabelle, would you like to read yours?
Bob was still vacillating on the last question between answer A and answer B as the timer rang. With a feeling of trepidation, he handed the paper to the teacher, who took one look at it and said with perfect equanimity, said that all of Bob's answers were wrong, and his steps were so nebulous no one could read them. Later, it was found that the teacher had done that because he had developed avarice and wanted money in exchange for putting a good score on Bob's test.
Yes. Good job. Great paragraph there, Annabelle. Nice. Okay, really good stuff, guys. Let's move on to we have another literary device. So we did alliteration last week. Let's talk about understatement. Actually, before we talk about it, who here knows what understatement is as a literary device? Anyone? Actually, let's do a quick activity before we go. Put in the chat, name the words here that you are familiar with. Like you have seen before in the context of like epic. We know epic means like awesome, but like in the context of literature, like what is a epic? If you guys are familiar with these words, you come across it before, whatever, let me know. Everyone knows what rhyme is, so I'm just going to give that a bit of a, everybody knows. All right, that's a silly one. We don't need. How about just open your mic and say ones that you kind of heard? Russell?
Alliteration, onomatopoeia,
Mhm.
rhyme is out of there, right?
Yeah.
So rhythm, metaphor, simile, personification, hyperbole, understatement, paradox, allusion, irony, foreshadowing,
Or
climax.
let's skip these ones for now, just
Oh.
like this left side. Okay. So I saw oxymoron. No, you didn't say that.
Symbolism and allegory. But no, imagery I know.
Okay, nice. Alliteration.
I know verbal irony and situational, but I don't know dramatic.
Okay, irony is going to be a big one. We're going to spend some time on that one. So we're going to keep that. Consonants. I mean, these ones are kind of silly. Or not silly, like consonants is just like using the same consonant over and over again. Meter is like very similar to that. They're sort of only in like when you really, really look in depth into something like poetry and things like that, then these things come into play. I think figurative language, these ones are the most important. Then some of these are pretty important later on too. Max, okay. Structural devices are very important. Chiasmus. We'll pretty much be going over all of these regardless. Motif, theme, and denouement for sure. Okay. We'll keep the rest later. We'll still be doing all of these as well, to be honest, but these ones I'll just put in yellow because we're gonna go over, but I'm sure you guys are familiar with what metaphors and similes are. Or if you're not, that's totally fine too. Okay. Let's go to understatement. Understatement. Can I get a volunteer reader? Austin, can you read this one?
Understatement is a literary device in which a writer intentionally makes a situation seem less important, serious, or intense than it really is. It's the opposite of hyperbole, exaggeration. Instead of making something sound bigger, understatement downplays it for effect. Purpose of understatement: create irony or humor, convey modesty or restraint, add a sarcastic or deadpan tone, making event or emotion feel more realistic or relatable.
Nice. Okay. So, actually, we have some examples on the next slide. Let's go over them. Can I get Ethan? Ethan, can you read this one?
Famous examples of understatement from Shakespeare, Romeo and Juliet. After being fatally wounded, Mercutio says, "Aye, a scratch, Mary, 'tis enough." He calls his deadly wound just a scratch, which is darkly humorous and ironic. Number two, Mark Twain, report of my death are greatly exaggerated. Twain downplays the rumors of his own death for comedic effect. Number three, everyday examples. After getting drenched in the storm, well, I might be a little wet. After acing a tough exam, it wasn't too bad. These underestimated sounds casual, but are clearly downplaying the truth.
Awesome. So, understatement is when you understate something. Something that would naturally bring about stronger emotions, and you state it very simply, very underwhelmingly, minimizing the severity of the situation, whether good or bad, as much as possible. That would be understatement, right? So before we go into it, why would anyone ever use understatement? What could you're reading something, something is stated, like something crazy is going on, and someone states it very plainly, very minimally. Why would anyone do that? Why would an author do that? Why would a character do that, etc.? Russell says comedy. That is a big one. Comedy is a big one. A lot of times you'll see it in comedy. Anybody else? Developing character of toughness. Ooh, that's good. That's true. That's a good situation. You see that situation a lot. Anybody else? Give me a hypothetical situations. Okay, fine. We'll leave it there. We'll go. Okay, why it's effective. Can I get Annabelle? Annabelle, can you read this one?
Why it's effective. It can make serious moments more striking through contrast. It often signals wit, sarcasm, or irony. It can soften emotional intensity or make dialogue feel natural. Device. Understatement. Definition: making something seem less than it is. Example: it's just a scratch, said the man missing an arm. hyperbole. Definition, exaggerating for some effect. Example, I've told you 1,000,000 times.
Awesome. Okay, so obviously hyperbole is the exact opposite of understatement. Both are literary devices that are used in a lot of things. Hyperbole pretty often. You'll probably see that more often. Okay, now here's a quick activity. Write your own understatement for one of these situations. So write a short paragraph, I'll give you guys like 3 minutes. Here are some examples if you can't think of one, or you can come up with one on your own and write an understatement as an author. Actually, no. Yeah, no, as an author, write an understatement, a situation where you, as an author, you make a statement that is understating the situation. Okay, so I'm gonna give you guys 3 minutes. Let me just actually write this down. 3 minutes. Starting, or why did I say starting? Why did I write that out? Okay, starting now. Okay, time is up. Let's see what you came up with. I actually gave you guys a little extra time because I only saw Russell's response. And still no responses. Okay. Russell, would you like to read yours?
For number 1, you just won a huge award. Meh, light work. You fell off a bike and broke your arm, took a little tumble and didn't quite stick the landing. For number 3, after someone wins the lottery, that's a decent payday.
Nice. Okay, I was thinking more of like a situation like a paragraph, but this is a fair this is some fair responses, statements that can be used as understatements. Okay, nice. Is that all we have? Okay, Annabelle. Okay, so I guess maybe okay, this is maybe my fault. It looks like everybody took it as write a situation for each one. Write a statement for each one. Okay, Annabelle, would you like to read yours?
For the first one, I only want a square foot of air. For the second one, where they broke their arm, I fell off a bike and got a small scratch. And the third one, the person who ate a whole chicken said, I ate a breadcrumb yesterday.
Nice. I ate a breadcrumb yesterday. This is funny because it's not even like bread. It's not even the same food. Okay, Melinda, would you like to read yours?
One, I guess I did okay. Two, that hurt a little. After you spill paint all over the classroom, that's a way to redecorate it. I forgot the it.
Nice. Okay, nice. That's a way to redecorate. I this is a very common one. Like when someone does something crazy, be like, that's one way to say that. You see it in movies a lot too. Okay, let's keep it going. Uh, do you love learning about history? Article of the day. What about studying the past in or out of school excites you? Okay, put your hand up if you enjoy history. Okay, let me put it this way. Put your hand up if you don't enjoy history as a subject in school. Okay, we have one person who doesn't like it. Two people who don't like it. Okay. So, what I will say to you guys is when I was in school, I hated history too. And I sort of still hate history, like how it's taught, but I think it's more so how it's taught. There's so much cool stuff in history, and a lot of schools only end up teaching. I don't know. My school ended up just talking about the war, like World War II, entire years just relearning World War II, which is, I mean, it's important. It's shaped a lot of our world, but I mean, there's so much cool stuff that happened in between, like civil rights movements, like evolution of technology. That's part of history too, right? How technology shaped our world, etc. So it's very cool. Ethan says let the past be the past. I agree, but we all need to learn from it too. Let the dead be the dead. Yes, I agree, but again, there's so many lessons there that we have to look into. Okay. Let's get started. Can I get Ethan, would you like to read this?
What have you experienced learning history been like, both in and out of schools? Do stories of the past cap captivate you, or do they feel dull and distant? How important do you think it is for young people to learn history? What difference would it make to society if people didn't know what happened back before they were born? In the article, a National History Day, students get competitive about the past. Jennifer Swirlesser writes about a 5-day event held in June where 3,000 middle school and high school students, where thousands of middle school and high school students from across the country gather and bring history to life. One evening last weekend, a group of middle school and high school students were packed in the theater at the University of Maryland, Maryland, clapping and swaying along to history, or rather history. Well, the tune was the familiar One Direction hit. The lyrics, sung by a woman on stage strumming an acoustic guitar, were different.
All right, all right. Let's continue. Can I get Melinda? Melinda, can you read this?
Learning about history is worth your life, or worth your while, she's saying in National History Day teaches it with style. History's going strong, history's holding on thanks to NHT. Word kids have the National Spelling Bee. Aspiring Steve Jobses and Mary Curies have Math and Science Olympiad. And then there's National History Day, which every year brings together some 3,000 students to compete for medals and generally celebrate the nerdy, exciting, and these days controversial practice of studying and talking about the past. The 5-day event, which ended on Thursday, blended footnotes with sometimes intense theater kids energy. For many, it was a chance to meet people from across the country and around the world and let their enthusiasm run wild. Caleb Ice, 13, a seventh grader from Nashville, Indiana, he said he had started participating in National History Day 2 years ago after moving from a part of the state where anything that was in sport was shunned.
Awesome. Okay. Let's keep going. Can I get a volunteer? Austin, can you read this one?
National History Day was founded in 1974 during the run-up to a bicentennial. Today, the organization reaches an estimated 500,000 students nationwide through a number of educational programs. But the main event is still the history contest. There are competitions for websites, papers, documentaries, museum exhibits, and 2 age categories. Participants rise through a series of local and state contests, working for months to refine their theses. Visuals and annotated bibliographies, which must include a variety of primary and secondary sources. The strength of National History Day, supporters say, is that it's driven by what students themselves are interested in, and it aims to be a resultly a nonpartisan, genuinely inclusive affair.
Awesome. All right, and last but not least, let's get who hasn't read yet? Russell, would you like to read this one?
Then the article provides an overview of the different projects students presented this year. This year's theme, Rights and Responsibilities in History, was broad enough to take in just about anything. That variety was on vivid display in a ballroom, where many of the roughly 400 entries in the tabletop exhibit category were spread out like a museum of many museums. There were multiple entries on the French Revolution. Title that's 9. The Berlin Wall, the Tuskegee syphilis experiments, the 1950s comic book scare, and Native American boarding schools, often through a state-specific lens. We always get a lot of women's suffrage. Jackie Robinson, the Triangle Shirtwaist Fire, said Jeff Ball, a teaching specialist at Harford Community College in Maryland. One of the contest's more than 500 judges. But there were also surprising, tightly focused projects, like exhibits on Paralympics, the fight for racial integration at Cleveland's youth-led beach amusement park, and the role of flight attendants in advocating for laws banning smoking on airplanes.
Awesome. Before we go to the last slide, I mean, like there's so many cool stories and things that um how our culture shifted, which led to different laws, which led to different customs and practices and things like that that I think that's what history is. And I think it's a little bit of a shame that we only focus on the wars because I mean there's so much that goes on and evolves that are outside the wars, even though the wars are obviously huge and whatever, right? Um, like I mean these 1950s comic book scare is crazy. Native American boarding schools is insane. Like a lot of the stuff we read about, the treatment that Jackie Robinson, the first black baseball player in the uh in the MLB, um, well, actually, that's not even true. Like we're taught that he's the first black uh, baseball player um in the MLB, but what is not taught is actually before segregation in like the late 1800s, there were black players in like playing baseball, like professional baseball. Then they actually afterwards, then they banned black people from joining it. Then when they unbanned it, that's when Jackie Robinson played. So it's like it's kind of crazy. Like we don't even hear about these stories, and a lot of people are not taught these things in history. And then you wonder like how did these things happen, right? And then we can learn from those experiences. So last slide here. We get I think Russell, can you just finish it off? It's just like 2 sentences.
Imani Haven and Carmen Thompson, two 16-year-olds from the White Mountain Apache tribe who live in the reservation community of Quebecu, Arizona, had brought an exhibit about missing and murdered Indigenous women. We really wanted to raise awareness, Imani said. Lots of people are coming to us asking questions.
Awesome. Okay, let's get started with the first question. Do you love to learn about history? I already know your answers, so um, I'm assuming everyone's going to answer it this way. Do you find the subject dry and boring? Share a memorable experience when the past came alive to you, either in or outside of school. So in this case, I need to know the most interesting experience that you've had learning about history. I'm going to give you guys 4 minutes. I think that's fair. Starting the timer now. All right. Time is up. I'm reading the chat. This is kind of funny. You guys are saying you don't even remember what you ate yesterday. It's kind of fair, but also that's not what history is. History is more than that. It's about learning how our culture changes and why it changes. That's my hot take. Okay. Oh, did I just post Ethan's twice? Yes, I did. Yes, I did. Okay, Ethan, would you like to read yours?
I typically think history is dry and boring because the information we're taught is repetitive. More wars, yay. Like, I don't need to hear about people dying during a war to a gunshot or a disease at the end of my school day. One time the class was actually interesting was when we get to watch a movie about the war. It should have been a war because no specific war. And the reason the movie was the reason the that I'm so bad at it. I was gonna say the reason the class was good was because it is a movie in school.
Okay, so I really think it's dry and boring because remember, cause without the B, it's cause, and that's a totally different word. In speech, it's different. In writing, it's different. So this is crucial because the information we were taught is repetitive. Period. This is a totally different full sentence, right? More wars, like more wars. Yay. How do I'm actually not, I think informal writing I'm not very strong at. It's something you're not really taught. So there's no way to do it correctly, I guess. Um I don't need to hear about people dying during war to a gunshot disease. Okay, fair enough. Okay, Russell, would you like to read yours?
I enjoy learning about history as long as it is not about war laws, war fronts, guerrilla warfare, or anything on war because I'm tired of it and I do not find it interesting. Right now in school, we are on a unit about how ancient humans got to every corner of the world and how genetic evidence proves that, and find that extremely interesting.
Awesome. I'm interested as long as not about war laws, war fronts, or anything about war because I'm tired of it and I do not find it interesting. So great. Right now in school, we're on a unit about ancient humans got to every corner of the world and how genetic evidence proves that and find it. That's very cool. Are you studying about the 7 different types of mitochondria and how there's only a handful of mitochondria across everyone's bodies?
We're finding a specific genetic marker passed down on the Y chromosome, and the genetic marker is a genetic mutation, an error in its spelling, AGTC. And then we can trace that marker, and because the Y chromosome is only in men, then we can trace connections around the world, and we can order how they got there, when they got there, where they got there, and that stuff.
Yeah, very cool. Very cool stuff. See, like I mean that's a whole different era of history, but like that stuff's very cool. I
But
think
last year we were learning half about uh the American Revolution. Half of our entire year was on American Revolution and then Jackie Robinson. So I did not like that.
yeah, like those things are very important, and I guess like especially for America, like if you're in America, like you do have to learn those things, but I don't know. I just think that there needs to be a little bit less time spent on that and more about world history, especially in America too, actually, because American history, American students generally don't really know about the rest of the world, generally speaking. Depending on where you are in America as well. Um, okay, Annabelle, would you like to read yours?
I find history one of the subjects I don't like but don't hate either. I don't have any specific feelings about it. Whenever I attend history class, I just plop down in my seat, stare at the whiteboard, and listen to the teacher drone on about discrimination and stuff like that. One interesting moment in class was when we studied how people came to America. Apparently, there has been many debates and conclusions on when people moved to America.
Okay. Um, that's very cool. I didn't know this. When people move to America, I guess like when in like the indigenous people came to America, or I guess there's also debates on like Vikings reached America, North America earlier. Yeah, that's very cool. See, stuff like that. Awesome. Very cool. Awesome. Would you like to read yours?
I really enjoyed history because it helps us understand how our world has changed over time. In school, we had a unit on the American Revolution, and I loved working on a project where we created a timeline of important events. It felt like the past came alive as we learned about the battles, the Declaration of Independence, and how the colonists fought for their freedom.
Awesome. Okay, so you enjoy the battles and learning about the battles too. That's good. Like if you can enjoy that, then it will be a bridge to the rest of history. A lot of people just sort of check out of history classes early on, then they never care. Um, awesome. Okay. We'll do one more question. Okay. Let's do Okay, what advice would you give to your teachers to help make their history classes more meaningful and effective? What could they learn from National History Day's approach? I guess you don't have to do the National History Days and you don't have to answer the second part, but just what would you do to make it more meaningful? What would make you more interested, etc. So I'm gonna give you guys five. We'll do 6 minutes for this.
The paragraph?
Yes, paragraph. So when you give a point, I want you to sort of explain a little bit more, like why you think that will help as well. Starting the timer All right, time is up. Let's see what we came up with. I did not see all these responses. Sorry. Okay, let's. Okay, let's start over here. Ethan, would you like to read yours? Ethan? Okay, I'll read Ethan. He says, my advice is to have more hands-on activities so you can engage students to actually do their work. This is full stop, full sentence. I also think that having more topics other than war is very necessary because it gets too repetitive and most people don't want to hear about people dying at the end of the day. Nice. Ethan, don't worry about your mic, it's okay. Russell, would you like to read yours?
If teachers in the US spent less time focusing only on American history and more on world history, students will gain a better understanding on how global events and cultures connect. Learning about different countries' perspectives could help young people see America's place in a larger context. This broader view might also encourage a sense of united humanity that goes beyond national borders.
Teachers in world history, great. I like this. This is amazing. This is amazing. We're all on the same planet. This is great. Great stuff. Really like this. Okay, Melinda, would you like to read yours?
They should be talking to They should be talking to us and explaining every detail of what's happening and entertaining us instead of showing us videos on YouTube. Teachers can learn from National History Day by giving more projects using real stories and connecting history. This might help the students enjoy learning and remembering it better.
Interesting. Interesting. They should be talking to us and explaining every detail and entertaining us instead of showing us videos on YouTube. Okay, they should not be showing you videos on YouTube the entire time. So that is a big problem.
My teacher does that.
Okay, that is a problem. That's not good. You can show some videos on YouTube, like there's a lot of good content on YouTube for especially for history, but I mean, yeah, it should be a discussion. It should be like, hey, so this happened in the 1920s, which led to this. Like, why do you think that is, right? Some engaging discussion, get you guys thinking, then explain a bit more. Cool. Annabelle, would you like to read yours?
A piece of advice I would give to my teacher to make history more interesting would be for students to be able to interact with physical objects that represent a past. For example, if we were learning about World War II, the teacher could create a mini battlefield or map with Lego minifigures on them. Instead of writing down strategies soldiers used in the war, teachers could show what happened using the minifigures as soldiers. This could help create a visual image of how the actual war was like while making history both fun and exciting.
Awesome. I love that. Very cool stuff, Annabelle. Um, I think these physical examples of like land and things like that is very beneficial for studying the wars and things like that. For other things, like maybe it's not as maybe like maps are not as effective, but um still still some physical things are good for just overall understanding. I had a teacher show us a lot of old school tech, right? And they would have us use some old school tech, and then we'd be like, "Oh, this sucks." This is an old phone. Like you have to get someone to change the wire. Like you have to call a place, and then they would I forgot what they're called, like a telephone operator, and the telephone operator would then connect the wire to the right spot, and then you can contact that person. And it's like this sucked, and you can understand why phone calls were more rare, and things like that. Then as technology advanced, we had texting, and now people don't really call much anymore. Um, so yeah, some physical things help people get engaged and visualize things a bit better. Austin, would you like to read yours?
To make history class more interesting and meaningful, teachers should use stories and personal experience from the past. Also, they should add hands-on activities like projects, debates, or reenactments that can help bring historical events to life.
Awesome. Okay. Have you guys ever been to a historical reenactment? No? Yeah, no. I used to see them on TV, or like on TV shows, they'll talk about historical reenactments. I've never been to one. I've been to, so, my teacher showed me that on YouTube. Wow, I didn't know teachers were using YouTube that much. I'm gonna be honest. That's kind of interesting. Okay. So actually, I had another question, but for the homework, I'm gonna say, if you could start a business, what would it be and why? If you had to start a business. Awesome. So that's gonna be the homework question. That's all for today, guys. I will see you all next week. Have a good one. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye, thank you.
Bye.